Let's move on with a look through the front pages of the international press with Diptyque Laurent. Hello there.
Hi, Kat.
And once again, we are starting off with coverage of the aftermath of the attack in Berlin on Monday. You're starting us off with the German papers, and of course people all across Germany rightly concerned about their security right now.
That's right. A lot of questions being asked. German press are really focusing on this debate around greater surveillance, around greater stricter security in the country after the Berlin attack. The paper Der Tagesspiegel says on its front page, Europe is hunting for Anis Amri, the 24-year-old suspected Berlin attacker. And in its editorial, the paper says Germany needs to have a discussion about improving police personnel and resources, but reminds readers that it's the police and not the army who must deal with these issues. Der Tagesspiegel says, we are not at war, a clear contradiction, you might remember, to some of the statements we saw here in France after the attacks here.
Indeed, the President, the Prime Minister and others repeating many times we are at war, so definitely a different tack there. What about the wider European press?
Well, let's take you through some of the headlines today. Le Soir, the Belgian paper, says on its front page that Amri is the most wanted man in Europe, while The Guardian says he's the one that got away. He slipped under police radar. The German paper Die Welt is also looking at his background, his upbringing, saying as early as 2010, he indeed stole a truck. He was born in a poor Tunisian town. His parents split up. His father is handicapped. He has 7 siblings, Die Welt reports. All evidence, though, points to him being radicalized in Europe. And the paper says that his profile corresponds to exactly what the Islamic State group look for. I quote, failed existence, miserable and petty crime.
The American papers focusing perhaps a bit more on the security issues, more specifically, apparent security failures in Germany that did allow Anis Amri to slip under the radar, as you say.
That's right. The Washington Post says Germany may need a more general attitude adjustment when it comes to security, reminding us that due to strict privacy rules, Berlin has been slower to react when it comes to things like clamping down on security. The Wall Street Journal says that Germany voted for greater video surveillance on Monday just before the attack, but it still needs to work on better sharing information between law enforcement and intelligence. Once again, legal limitations in Germany means, for instance, they can't monitor or detain suspected terror suspects, I guess, and they also don't even have the equivalent of the FBI.
All right. Now, as it emerges that a Tunisian national is the main suspect in this case, the Tunisian press are lashing out at terrorist suspects from their own territory.
That's right. It's a really poignant article from the Tunisian French language newspaper La Presse. Just to quote a few excerpts, they say, every time a terrorist attack happens in the world, Tunisians hold their breath. For good reason, because on many occasions, one of our cursed sons is responsible. The paper goes on to say that Tunisians feel embarrassed, they feel worried and especially fearful when it's revealed, as has been the case in the past. And this week that Tunisian man was a suspect. They worry about the impact it'll have on expats living in Europe and fear that it will tarnish the image of the country.
All right, we'll move on to another story now, one that's making headlines, particularly in the United States. It's about a legal case in North Carolina. The so-called bathroom bill, passed into law earlier this year, won't be repealed, it seems.
That's right. The law essentially limits the protections for LGBT people, requiring them to use the bathrooms corresponding to their gender at birth. You'll remember it sparked widespread backlash from activist groups and protesters. The Charlotte Observer reports that on Wednesday, the state assembly gathered in the hopes of repealing that law. And basically, the local paper talks about this sort of the tensions between city officials in Charlotte and the state Republicans in North Carolina. One of the reasons being that the city of Charlotte voted to give the LGBT community more protection, in direct contrast with the state law. Mm-hmm. But for the Chicago Tribune, the decision not to repeal will just ensure the likelihood of more economic sanctions on the state.
All right, and one final story, a bit more heartwarming to end our press review on. This is from your part of the world, not Australia, but New Zealand, and it's about a very cute but perhaps unfortunate creature, and this story's really gone viral.
That's right. You did flag this story out to me earlier this morning. Thank you. Mashable reports that a fur seal has recently taken to a sunny patch on the side of a highway in the New Zealand city of Dunedin.
He looks very comfortable, doesn't he? Just lying on the road.
He looks really, really happy there. The local paper Otago Daily Times reports that he was eventually shuffled back to the harbour, but not before he enjoyed some time under the sun. As you see in a tweet, he captured the hearts of Kiwis around the country. And it turns out he's not the only one. He's not the only sunbathing seal. Another seal, dubbed Dale the Dunedin tar seal, is also known for his highway sojourns.
Those very tolerant people in New Zealand, not minding their traffic being disrupted. Thanks very much, Diptyque Laurent there with our international press review. That's it from us for now. We'll be back in a couple of minutes, though, with more updates on all of our top international news stories here on France 24.